Faithful one, I am speaking to the you that survived the delay, not the version that learned how to smile while carrying disappointment, not the version that became quiet because hoping out loud started to feel too dangerous, not the accused version that kept asking what you did wrong, what you missed, why the door moved for others but seemed to stay shut for you. I am not addressing the exhausted identity that the waiting tried to place on you. I am speaking to the one I formed before the delay had a voice, before the resistance had a name, before the disappointment tried to teach you how to expect less. I have seen the starting and stopping. I have seen the moment when you gathered strength again, stepped forward again, believed again, and then felt something unseen press against your progress. I have seen you pray with sincerity and then sit in the silence wondering if heaven received the words or if they disappeared somewhere between your mouth and my throne. They did not disappear. They were not wasted. They were not ignored. I heard the prayers you whispered when you did not have energy to explain yourself to anyone. I heard the prayers that came out as sighs. I heard the prayers you could only think because your heart was too tired to speak. And before I reveal what has been standing in the way, I want you to come into agreement with what I am saying over you. Like this video as a small act of agreement, not with a screen, but with the truth that I am speaking to your spirit. Subscribe if you need steady, faith-filled messages that help you keep your heart aligned with my voice. And write these words in the comments. What held me back can no longer stand. Let your own mouth begin to testify before your circumstances have finished changing. This is not condemnation. I did not come to shame you for being tired. I did not come to accuse you because the journey has affected you. I did not come to tell you that your weariness disqualified you or that your questions made you unworthy of an answer. This is a divine interruption. This is my voice stepping into the cycle that kept repeating itself. This is my hand reaching into the place where delay tried to settle in as if it had a permanent address. What has been standing in the way has reached the end of its authority. It looked strong because it stayed too long. It looked final because it spoke loudly. It looked legitimate because you had to live with its effects day after day, decision after decision, prayer after prayer. But it was never stronger than me. The blocker is not stronger than your God. The delay is not permanent. The false verdict spoken over your life is being overturned. I am addressing your identity first because you must know who you are before you watch what resisted you fall. What blocked you has been borrowing authority it never owned. It may have looked powerful because it repeated itself. It may have looked established because you recognized its pattern. It may have looked permanent because it knew how to return at the same moment, speak with the same tone, touch the same wound, and convince you that nothing was changing. But familiar does not mean final. Repeated does not mean ordained. Loud does not mean lawful. The thing that resisted you was not my rejection. It was not proof that you were unworthy. It was not evidence that the promise missed the address. It was not a wall I built to keep you out. It was a resistance that learned how to sound official because you had heard it for so long. I want you to understand this clearly. The obstacle only seemed permanent because it was allowed to speak louder than my verdict. Fear spoke, and you listened because it sounded like caution. Shame spoke, and you listened because it sounded like truth. Old labels spoke, and you listened because they came from familiar voices. Generational patterns spoke, and you listened because they had been in the family line long before you knew how to name them. Disappointment spoke, and you listened because your heart was tired of being surprised by pain. Spiritual fatigue spoke, and you listened because even your faith felt like it had been walking uphill for too long. Wrong agreements spoke. Delayed obedience spoke. Private discouragement spoke. And slowly, what had no right to rule began to influence your posture, your expectation, your language, your decisions, and the way you looked at the future. But I saw the exact place where progress slowed. I saw the moment your confidence collapsed inward. I saw when you stopped saying certain prayers with boldness and started adding quiet conditions to them, just in case nothing happened. I saw when your expectation lowered, not because you stopped believing in me, but because you were trying to protect yourself from another disappointment. I saw when you began to call survival wisdom, and when you began to call guardedness maturity, and when you began to call smallness peace. I saw it. I understood it. I did not despise you for it. Now I am putting my word back in its rightful place. Above the fear, above the shame, above the old label, above the family pattern, above the disappointment, above the fatigue, above the circumstance that tried to name you. What I have spoken over you carries higher authority than what happened to you. What I have called you carries more weight than what accused you. What I have promised carries more permanence than what delayed you. The blocker is losing permission to remain, not because you finally became strong enough to force it down by yourself, but because my verdict is rising in you again. My word is confronting what spoke out of turn. My truth is removing the borrowed crown from the thing that tried to rule your heart, and what had been standing as if it owned the doorway is being exposed as something that never had the final say. I will not pretend the waiting did not cost you something. I will not rush past the ache in order to hand you a sentence that sounds beautiful but does not touch the place that actually hurts. I will not cover your exhaustion with a slogan. I will not ask you to clap over a wound I have not first acknowledged. The place you have been walking through has been real. The weight of it has been real. The private cost has been real. It cost you sleep. I saw the nights when your body was lying down, but your mind kept moving, counting, measuring, rehearsing, calculating, wondering how long you could keep carrying what you were carrying. I saw you sitting on the edge of the bed before the day began, trying to gather enough strength to face responsibilities that had no idea how tired you were. I saw the pressure in your chest when another message did not come, when another answer did not arrive, when another bill needed attention, when another conversation replayed in your mind and you wondered what changed, what shifted, what you should have said, what you should have seen sooner. It cost you hope in ways people did not notice, not because hope died completely, but because it became guarded. You still believed me, but you learned to believe quietly. You still prayed, but sometimes you prayed with your hands held close to your heart, as if even your expectation needed protection. You still wanted to trust, but trust had bruises on it. You still wanted to rejoice for others, and you did, but sometimes after celebrating them, you came back to your own room and cried tears no one heard. I heard them. I received them. I did not turn away from them. And I saw your endurance. I saw you keep showing up when you wanted to disappear. I saw you keep praying when visible answers seemed delayed. I saw you keep forgiving when your heart had every natural reason to stay hard. I saw you keep serving while carrying questions. I saw you keep trying when no one saw the full weight of what it required for you to take one more step, make one more call, open one more bill, answer one more message, enter one more room, and act like you were not fighting discouragement beneath the surface. Those prayers did not vanish. That obedience did not expire. Those tears were not ignored. The season that looked unanswered was not unseen. I was not absent in the quiet. I was not passive in the delay. I was counting what others could not count. I was honoring what others could not measure. I was receiving the faith that remained when your feelings had no strength left to support it. So before I speak breakthrough over you, I am naming the cost beneath you, not to keep you in pain, but to prove to you that my promise is not shallow. I know what this has taken from you. I know what you carried. I know what you survived. And because I have seen the real weight of the waiting, you can trust me when I tell you that the answer I am releasing is not careless, not late, not random, and not small. And now, I am removing the false labels before the door opens. Because some of the pain of the delay was not only what happened around you, it was what began to attach itself to you because of what happened around you. The wound spoke, and over time it did not merely describe the season. It tried to describe you. The disappointment spoke, and it did not merely say, "This has been difficult." It tried to say, "You are difficult." The delay spoke, and it did not merely say, "This has taken longer than you wanted." It tried to say, "You are too late." That label is a lie. Too damaged is a lie. Too complicated is a lie. Too overlooked is a lie. Too inconsistent is a lie. Too far behind is a lie. Too hard to love is a lie. That conclusion did not come from me. That sentence was never written by God. I did not form you and then call you impossible. I did not carry you through years of pressure so shame could have the authority to rename you. I did not preserve you through the storm so the storm could become your identity. I know the places where you started agreeing with words I never spoke, quietly, privately, almost without noticing. You stopped calling yourself hopeful and started calling yourself realistic. You stopped calling yourself tender and started calling yourself weak. You stopped calling yourself in process and started calling yourself behind. You looked at your mistakes, your delays, your emotional exhaustion, your repeated battles, your unfinished healing, and you allowed pain to build a dictionary over your life. But I am tearing those definitions out by the root. Before I break the outer barrier, I am breaking the inner agreement with shame, because an open door can still feel threatening to someone who expects rejection. A blessing can still feel unsafe to someone who has learned to brace for loss. A good thing can still be questioned by someone who has been trained by disappointment to look for the hidden catch. So I am not only opening what was closed, I am healing the part of you that would stand at the threshold and wonder if you are allowed to enter. You are allowed to enter. You are not too late. You are not too damaged. You are not too complicated for my wisdom. You are not too overlooked for my attention. You are not too inconsistent for my mercy. You are not too far behind for my timing. You are not too hard to love for the one who is love. I am removing the language of limitation from your mouth, from your memory, from your expectation, from the way you interpret silence, from the way you interpret waiting, from the way you interpret yourself. I am teaching you to recognize the blessing when it arrives, not as something strange, not as something suspicious, not as something meant for someone better, but as something I intentionally sent to you. The shame is losing its agreement. The false name is losing its grip. The real you is rising again. And now hear me clearly. The delay is ending because the assigned blessing is arriving, not wandering, not searching for the right address, not delayed by accident, not still being assembled in some distant place while you keep wondering whether I remembered what I promised. Arriving, moving toward the exact places where resistance has been strongest, arriving in peace, arriving in clarity, arriving in provision, arriving in strength, arriving in restored confidence, arriving with my name on it and your assignment attached to it. This is not abstract hope. This is not a vague comfort meant to help you survive one more difficult week with no movement. This is divine movement. This is my hand pressing through the places that tried to stay closed. This is my wisdom entering the confusion that kept circling in your mind. This is my provision touching the need that had actual numbers connected to it. This is my peace entering the room where anxiety kept speaking first. This is my courage rising in you again on an ordinary morning when nothing dramatic has happened yet, but something inside you suddenly knows you are not trapped anymore. The blessing I release knows the household it is assigned to. It knows the heart it is meant to strengthen. It knows the relationship where tenderness needs to return. It knows the work where doors must open without you having to beg, force, perform, shrink, or prove yourself to people who were never given authority over your future. It knows the need. It knows the promise. It knows the private prayer that did not sound polished but came from the deepest place in you. It knows where to land because I sent it with intention. Do not measure what is arriving by the resistance that tried to intimidate you. Old resistance cannot cancel what I have released. Previous disappointment cannot veto my timing. The doubts of others cannot disqualify what I have ordained. Their uncertainty is not stronger than my command. Their silence is not stronger than my word. Their dismissal is not stronger than my favor. What I am sending does not require permission from the people who misunderstood you, underestimated you, or only knew the version of you that was still trying to survive. Watch how conversations begin to soften. Watch how doors open without the same strain that used to exhaust you. Watch how resources appear through channels you did not plan, from directions you did not expect, at moments that remind you, I was never limited to the path you could see. Watch how your courage returns in small places first, in your voice, in your decisions, in your willingness to try again, in the way you stand a little straighter without needing everyone to understand why. Arriving means it is in motion. Arriving means it has a destination. Arriving means the delay did not destroy the promise. Arriving means what opposed you did not outlast me. The area that felt most stuck is not forgotten. The place that carried the most warfare is being touched by my authority. The blessing is not late because heaven lost track of time. It is arriving now with precision, with purpose, and with the power to answer what tried to hold you back. And what tried to hold you back has been used to build capacity. I will not romanticize the pain. I will not call rejection easy. I will not call waiting pleasant. I will not call silence comfortable. The pressure was pressure. The wound was a wound. The long road was long. But hear me, faithful one. I did not waste what you survived. I did not waste the closed doors. I did not waste the unanswered conversations. I did not waste the nights when you had to choose trust with tears still on your face. I did not waste the place where you thought nothing was happening. because much of what I was building in you was hidden beneath the surface. What was meant to shrink you became the place where deeper roots formed. What was meant to make you bitter became the place where compassion deepened. What was meant to make you reckless became the place where discernment sharpened. What was meant to make you quit became the place where steadiness was established. The enemy intended pressure to make you smaller, suspicious, cold, and afraid to believe again. But I have been redeeming even the parts of the story that looked unusable. I have been taking what pressed against you and using it to strengthen what will now have to carry more. You are not only being released from something, you are being prepared to carry something greater. A greater door requires greater discernment. A greater assignment requires greater humility. A greater blessing requires a heart that can receive without worshiping the gift, steward without striving, increase without arrogance, and keep walking with me when life begins to look different. So I taught you patience in the place where impatience would have rushed you into the wrong room. I taught you wisdom in the place where confusion forced you to seek my voice more carefully. I taught you compassion in the place where your own pain made you tender toward people who are still trying to breathe under burdens no one can see. The difficult chapter was not the final story. It was the hidden strengthening beneath the next chapter. It was infrastructure. It was depth beneath the visible structure. It was root work before fruit. It was foundation before height. It was the quiet construction of spiritual steadiness, emotional maturity, and inner weight. You may have thought you were only enduring delay, but I was enlarging your capacity. You may have thought you were only surviving resistance, but I was teaching you how to stand without needing constant confirmation. You may have thought you were losing time, but I was forming a version of you that could carry what the former version of you prayed for. Now the blessing that is arriving will not crush you. The door that opens will not find you empty. The answer that comes will meet someone deeper, wiser, softer in the right places, stronger in the necessary places, and more anchored in me than you were before. What tried to stop you did not get to define you. It helped reveal the strength I was building in you all along. And now, I am answering the fears that keep rebuilding the wall. I want to address them one by one, not with vague encouragement, not with empty comfort, not with words that float above your real concern without touching it. I am answering fear with covenant truth. The fear that the promise is not really for you is a lie. I did not speak over you by accident. I did not choose you casually. I did not attach your name to purpose because there was no one else available. I chose you intentionally. I know your frame. I know your story. I know the places where you still feel unfinished. And none of that surprised me when I called you mine. What I have prepared for you does not belong to a stronger version of someone else. It is assigned to you. The fear that the window has closed is a lie. Human delay does not control divine timing. What took longer than you expected did not move you outside my reach. What seemed missed, postponed, interrupted, or buried has not escaped my authority. I do not panic because time has passed. I do not lose power because years have accumulated. I am not intimidated by calendars, birthdays, deadlines, other people's progress, or the quiet accusation that says, "It is too late now." I know how to redeem time. I know how to open in a moment what resistance tried to hold for a season. The fear that you ruined it is a lie. Your mistakes are not stronger than my mercy. Your weakness is not stronger than my covenant. Your wandering did not exhaust my compassion. Your hesitation did not empty my storehouse. Yes, I correct. Yes, I teach. Yes, I lead you out of patterns that cannot come with you into the next place. But correction is not rejection. Conviction is not abandonment. My mercy is not fragile, and adoption in my family is not held together by your perfect performance. The fear that what I give will be taken away is a lie. I do not bless you just to torment you with loss. I do not restore you just to prove how quickly it can disappear. What I give with intention. What I establish with wisdom. What I place in your hands, I also teach you how to steward. You are not being invited into temporary relief that vanishes the moment your heart begins to breathe again. And I see the deeper fear beneath many of these fears. The fear that hope will rise and disappointment will return. The fear that you will open your heart again and then have to survive another collapse. I am not shaming you for that fear. I know where it came from. But I am teaching you how to hope without building a prison around your own heart. Self-protection may feel safe, but when it begins to block trust, it becomes another wall. And no person has more power than my plan. Their rejection cannot cancel what I ordained. Their delay cannot outrank my timing. Their silence cannot erase my word. Their inability to see you does not mean I have stopped calling you. The wall cannot keep rebuilding when you stop agreeing with fear's interpretation. Fear may speak, but it does not get the final sentence. My covenant does. My mercy does. My timing does. My word does. So now stand in the right posture for what is being released. I am not telling you breakthrough is coming so you can sit numb, guarded, suspicious, and disconnected while I move around you. I am telling you because I want you prepared, not passive, not frantic, not trying to force the door open with anxious hands. Prepared, aligned, awake enough to recognize my fingerprints when they appear in small places, before they appear in large ones. First, notice the small evidence of movement. Do not despise the little shift because it is not yet the full answer. Notice the conversation that feels softer. Notice the peace that lasts a little longer than it used to. Notice the idea that comes with clarity. Notice the strength to do one task you had been avoiding. Notice the unexpected favor, the message, the open space, the quiet courage returning to your voice. These are not meaningless details. These are not random pieces floating around your life. When I begin to move, I often let the first signs appear in ordinary places, so your heart learns to trust again without being overwhelmed. Second, receive without minimizing. Stop apologizing for needing help. Stop shrinking the blessing to match the size of your old disappointment. Stop calling provision a coincidence when you asked me to provide. Stop saying it is not that big of a deal when I know how much it means to you. Receive with humility. But do not insult my kindness by acting like you are not allowed to be cared for. Let the gift land. Let the door open. Let the answer encourage you. Let your heart say, "This is from my Father, and I am allowed to receive it." Third, release the old label quickly. When shame tries to explain why you should not expect good, do not sit with it. When fear tries to say, "This will not last," do not build a chair for it. When the old name rises again, too late, too damaged, too far behind, too needy, too much, answer it with my truth. Say it out loud if you need to. I am not who the delay called me. I am who God calls me. The label must leave before the blessing settles, because I am not only giving you something new, I am teaching you to carry it as someone made new. Fourth, stay close to me in daily conversation. Speak to me in the morning before fear gives you its report. Speak to me in the car, in the kitchen, at the desk, in the quiet, after the phone call, before the meeting, after the tears, while you are making the decision. You do not need polished language. You need nearness. Tell me what you see. Ask me what to do next. Thank me for the smallest evidence of movement. Bring me the hesitation before it becomes resistance. And obey the next instruction I have already placed before you. Make the call, forgive, where I am prompting forgiveness. Rest without guilt. Prepare the document. Apply again. Clean the space. Send the message. Speak the truth out loud. Put your hands to the small act that agrees with the larger promise. You are not forcing the door open. That is not your burden. You are standing aligned when I open it. Your posture is partnership. Your obedience is agreement. Your open hands are saying, "Father, I recognize what you are sending. I receive what you are releasing, and I will steward it with you." Now, I am speaking my decree into the places where life has felt stuck, not a vague word floating above your circumstances. Not a distant blessing that never touches the room you actually live in. Not a general comfort that leaves the pressure unnamed. I am speaking to the exact places where resistance gathered, where heaviness settled, where delay trained you to lower your expectation, and where your heart began to wonder if movement would ever come again. I decree over your home that heaviness is lifting. The atmosphere that has felt thick, tense, silent, sorrowful, or difficult to breathe in is being touched by my peace. Rooms that carried arguments, loneliness, worry, exhaustion, and unspoken pressure are being washed by my presence. The kitchen, the bedroom, the hallway, the place where you sit and think too much, the place where tears fell quietly, the place where your body rested but your mind did not rest, I am touching it. Conversations are becoming less charged. Words are losing the sharp edge that pain gave them. Peace is returning to ordinary moments. Laughter is not too far gone. Ease is not impossible. Your home will not remain a container for old heaviness. What has been holding you back can no longer stand, can no longer speak, can no longer define, and can no longer block what I have released. I decree over your mind and your body that anxious spirals are breaking. The thought that used to start small and then pull you into fear, calculation, dread, and exhaustion is losing its pathway. The nighttime rehearsing is being interrupted by peace. Sleep is being restored. Rest is no longer something you have to fight for as if it were a luxury. Tension is loosening from your shoulders, your chest, your jaw, your stomach, your nervous system, and the hidden places where your body has been carrying battles your mouth did not explain. Calm strength is returning for daily decisions. You will not need panic to keep you alert. You will not need fear to make you responsible. Wisdom will guide you without tormenting you. My peace will guard you without numbing you. Your mind is not a prison. Your body is not only a record of what hurt you. I am restoring steadiness from the inside out. I decree over your finances and your work that delay is moving. Opportunities that seem stuck, postponed, ignored, buried, or circling without conclusion are coming under my command. Provision is gaining margin, not merely enough to survive the next urgent thing, but enough for breath, enough for order, enough for obedience, enough for generosity, enough for dignity. Hidden favor is appearing in places you did not know were being prepared. A name mentioned in a room. A door opened through an unexpected channel. A solution arriving through a person, a decision, a timing, a document, a conversation, an idea, a release. Panic is being replaced with wisdom. Striving is being replaced with strategy. Confusion is being replaced with clarity. I am teaching you how to move with diligence without bowing to fear, how to plan without worshiping control, how to receive provision without suspicion, and how to work from identity instead of desperation. I decree over your relationships that false accusations lose power. Words spoken against you, assumptions placed on you, narratives built without understanding, and judgments formed from partial vision will not have authority over the future I am forming. Unhealthy attachments are weakening. The ties that drained you, confused you, manipulated your compassion, or made you responsible for what I never assigned to you are losing their grip. Divine connections are strengthening. People who can see with cleaner eyes, speak with honest love, walk with maturity, and honor what I am doing in you are being positioned with purpose. And where I have ordained reconciliation, I am softening hearts, humbling pride, clearing misunderstanding, and making room for truth without violence and tenderness without compromise. Not every return is restoration, but what I restore will carry my fingerprints. You will know the difference because my peace will be there. I decree over your destiny and obedience that you are no longer circling the same fear. You are not going around the same mountain with the same question, the same hesitation, the same old name, and the same guarded heart. I am calling you forward with steady faith, not frantic faith, not performative faith, not faith that needs to prove itself to people. Steady faith, the kind that takes the next step, answers the next instruction, opens the next door, sends the next message, prepares the next thing, and trusts me with the part you cannot control. The assignment ahead of you will not be blocked by the label behind you. The obedience in front of you will not be governed by the disappointment behind you. Hear me, and let this settle deep. What has been holding you back can no longer stand. It can no longer speak as if it has my authority. It can no longer define you by what happened. It can no longer block what I have released. My decree is touching the home, the mind, the body, the work, the provision, the relationships, the obedience, and the future. The stuck place is not stronger than my word. The delayed place is not outside my reach. The diminished place is not beyond restoration. I am moving with precision, and what I have released is coming into the places where resistance was loudest. Now let this become prayer. Father, I thank you that you saw the hidden battle. You saw what people did not see. You saw the mornings when strength was low, the nights when sleep was interrupted, the moments when faith was still present but tired, the prayers whispered through pressure, the obedience offered without applause, and the tears that were wiped away before anyone entered the room. Thank you for honoring endurance. Thank you for counting what did not look impressive to others but was precious before you. Thank you for every step taken while the heart was heavy, every yes spoken while fear was loud, every act of trust offered while the answer still seemed delayed. I thank you that false authority is being exposed. The thing that tried to sound permanent was never greater than your word. The label that tried to attach itself was never written by your hand. The resistance that tried to intimidate your child was never seated above your throne. So now, in your presence, I release fear, I release shame, I release delay, I release confusion, I release heaviness. I release the agreement that said what blocked me was stronger than what you promised. I release the old conclusion. I release the false name. I release the expectation of disappointment. I release the guardedness that called itself wisdom, but was really pain trying to protect itself. Let every agreement with limitation be broken now. Let every inner sentence that says too late, too damaged, too forgotten, too far behind, too difficult, too impossible, lose its grip. Let the heart breathe again. Let the mind clear. Let the body rest. Let the home be filled with peace. Let sleep return without torment. Let provision come with order and margin. Let relationships be cleansed of manipulation, accusation, confusion, and unnecessary weight. Let divine connection strengthen. Let faith rise without striving. Let obedience become steady again. Let courage return to the voice, clarity return to decisions, and hope return to the places where disappointment tried to build a wall. I speak blessing over your identity. You are not who the delay called you. You are who God calls you. I speak blessing over your home, that peace will settle in rooms where anxiety once ruled. I speak blessing over your health, your nervous system, your rest, your strength, your breathing, your sleep, and your daily rhythm. I speak blessing over your finances. That provision will come with wisdom, favor, diligence, and room to obey. I speak blessing over your relationships, that what is false will fall away, what is ordained will be strengthened, and what is restored will carry the peace of God. I speak blessing over your faith, that it will not be frantic, brittle, or performative, but rooted, living, and steady. I speak blessing over your future movement, that the next steps will open with precision, and that you will recognize the fingerprints of God when they appear. And now hear this declaration and agree with it from the deepest place in you. What held you back has lost its authority. What tried to define you has lost its voice. What tried to delay you has lost its grip. What God has spoken over you is now rising with strength. The promise is rising. The real you is rising. The blessing is rising. Peace is rising. Courage is rising. Movement is rising. In the name of the Lord, what stood against the word of God cannot stand forever. Amen. If this prayer is your agreement, write in the comments, "What held me back can no longer stand." Leave your prayer request there too, because this is a place of agreement, and I want others to stand with you in faith. Share this message with someone who has felt delayed, someone who has been carrying more than they said, someone who needs to remember that God has not forgotten them. Like this video as an act of agreement, and subscribe for more faith-building messages that help you stay close, stay steady, and keep recognizing what God is releasing in your life.